Hey Tracy, how you doing? You all right?
Good, thank you.
So LinkedIn, as I said on my intro, Tracy is a little bit special to me because she's one of my closest friends, and on this theme of resilience, I couldn't think of anybody better to speak to than Tracy. So I'm going to get this wrong, Trace. So you are a lead nurse, a matron.
I'm a clinical matron, yeah.
Clinical matron. And before all this madness started off, you were specialising in the cardiac ward, weren't you? And you were specialising in people with cardiac.
Yeah, so I'm a cardiothoracic nurse, is my speciality. That's, my dominance that I had when I worked in London. Moved down to Winchester to oversee a cardiac unit, and now work within acute medicine.
Yeah. So, I thought in terms of this theme of resilience and this theme of people we've spoken to some very interesting people, but I can't think of anybody better to finish the series on than speaking to Trace. A, because, she's one of my closest friends and I love her. B, she's married to my best mate, who's an idiot. And if there's anybody that deserves a speech on resilience, it's her, for putting up with him.
Just from a personal point of view.
and C, we're all in this world where we're talking about resilience and we're talking about bounce back and how the business has been affected. And Tracy just goes about her work in the most resilient of ways. And she is one of the most resilient people in my life, but she just goes about her work with grace and favour, and it's incredible. So 6 weeks ago, Trace, your world changed, didn't it? You moved from being virtually, correct me, I'm stupid, a cardiac nurse to what they call
a medicine now, and a medical nurse, yeah.
Nurse. So you went from it being a red ward or a hot ward, a COVID ward. What did it turn into?
Well, I think we went from, I think it's better to look at it as an organisation, because the organisation has wards that are geared towards a specific group with specific conditions, give or take. Those boundaries obviously get blurred at times, but you sort of have a thing that you are geared towards. And I think when this new pandemic started, those boundaries kind of disappeared. And then it became more about areas that were clean, areas that were, so it was called hot and cold. So areas that were query COVID or positive, and areas that were deemed to be not having those patients. So the actual speciality of your area kind of went, and it was more about the pandemic we're in, rather than being able to cohort patients according to speciality.
So, like 6 weeks ago, you were just, we were in the pub and having a laugh, and then you were just going about your job, and we all know you got a really serious job, and then this hits, right? And then you're running a team, and I presume you've got a mixture of young and experienced, qualified nurses, and you're seeing a real spike in, I don't know, clinical urgency, for want of a better phrase. The stress levels must have gone through the roof.
Well, there's two things really. On a professional level, the actual fundamentals of caring for patients, whether they have COVID or not, is business as usual.
Yeah.
You have a patient in front of you. Your role is to deliver the care required. You follow the guidelines and the new policies accordingly, but the bit about actually looking after the patient doesn't really change. But on a personal level, humans like to feel familiar with what they do. So the unease, and where the resilience comes in, is that in front of you is something that you may not be familiar with.
Yeah.
You might have just made the mistake in looking at the news before going into work, and sort of some of the hysteria at the beginning around that, which was understandable, because again, it's that whole thing of it being new. When as humans we don't understand something, it feels frightening. It makes people immediately feel quite anxious. So on a human level, those staff are still bringing that into work and being worried about their families and things, but when they then are in work, the familiarity stops. The teams needed to change. People have their own anxieties about their own health, families at home that might be vulnerable. So all of a sudden, yes, it is business as usual, and we are used to dealing with patients with highly infectious things where staff have to protect themselves. But it just became bigger, and it made things just the unfamiliarity really was the key thing, and just thinking,
How did you manage that, Trace? Obviously, you know, I know and love your family, and you've got a very young, dynamic group of individuals you live with every day, and like they take time and love and energy anyway, right? And you're going to this really unique, spoken about, heightened estate every day, and you then have to sort of manage yourself, and you've got a very young team around you who are looking for you for leadership. I'm put in a stressful situation. I get like 30 business coaches call me up going, let's talk about resilience, Fran, and send me on an MBA and all that. Let's be honest, crap.
Well, I mean, I'm very lucky to work for an organisation that has kept us very informed about things.
Yeah.
And I think being able to gear people towards the facts and just focusing what is in front of them is one of the keys. Being there to pay attention to whatever is an issue that is raised by anybody, and no matter how big or small, but just being able to respond to it methodically, factually, keeping resources on a ward that people can tap into when they need to look something up, just keeping everything very simple and very factual. I mean, really, resilience is about your ability to sustain yourself when events go against you. That's what resilience is.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it's responding to the event that is going against somebody. So if that event is, I'm really terrified, I'm going to pick this up and take it back to my children that have got asthma, then that's the thing that you deal with. If the event is, I really hate wearing these face masks, it's making my skin really sore, and it's, everybody's event is different. So there's no blanket approach, which can, from a leadership point of view, become quite draining because it's not a set theme that you address in one go. It's everybody's event is different. And that affects their ability to respond to that event. That it's their ability to respond that is the issue around resilience. That's what it is. So just being able to just methodically do that, keep things focused, business as usual, because we over the years have developed what care delivery looks like, and it's keeping focused on that while you're dealing with these other events that are occurring.
So control the controllables, really, and just look after what you
Control
know. Control the controllables and look after what you know. And
and it's, my job is to impart within a ward environment the knowledge that's passed to me from the senior exec team. That my job is to ensure that the plans and policies and what needs to happen is passed on and is actually delivered at that ward level. That is my job to do that. So that in some ways is the easy bit, because you have a policy written, right, we need you to do this, this, this and this. But staff will always throw things up that you haven't thought of. There's always something that you're like, oh, okay, I'm not really sure about that, and it's being able to just not join in with the anxiety around that. Because people form boxes, and when they're in a box about an issue, they recruit people to join them in the box.
100%.
A little bit of leadership speak there. I don't really want to sound leadership-y.
No, 100%.
That's, and when you
misery loves company, right? Misery loves company.
Yes. So when you have these events, it's tackling it immediately, nipping it in the bud, finding out the information, being informative, being helpful, and sort of being proactive about it, not just sort of saying, well, you'll be okay, you know, you'll be okay, it'll soon blow over. You know, we're in this for a good while now. And it's you want people to still feel satisfied when we come out of this. I need a healthy, satisfied, efficient group of staff that are functioning well. We don't want to just be feeling that we're winging through it and then kind of just hoping that we're all intact by the end of it, because you want people to feel satisfied. You know, you want them to look back on this phase feeling that they contributed their bit, that they did the right thing, they were given support when they needed it, and that's what we need to be aiming towards.
I said to my guys the other day, this is probably one of the biggest tests you'll ever personally go through, and you know, ours is on a business level, right? It's not on a, you know, yours is life and death on a day-to-day basis, but in their world, in their box, it's the fight that they're fighting. And it feels like the world's going through like an MBA at the moment. Everybody's becoming an expert in crisis management and coaching, and everybody's trying to be supportive, and it's great. But I think that view you just had in terms of come out of this well is incredible, Trace. That's just nobody else.
It's just remembering, though. It's just remembering. I am, you know, this is all I've ever done since I was 15. I don't know how to do anything else. And I knew almost instinctively what I needed to be, what characteristics I needed to have to go into nursing. And nursing, if we go back to resilience being about being able to respond to events that go against us, nursing has always thrown that at nurses. Always. Because it's so unpredictable. You deal with every facet of somebody's life. Emotionally, I would argue it's probably, you know, the closest emotionally that you'll ever get to a human being that you don't know within your family. And it always throws things that test people's ability to respond. Always. It could be that the elderly man you're looking after reminds you of your father and you just can't get beyond that. It could be that something occurs on a day that was actually quite small, but you just can't shake it off for days. So actually, within the nursing leadership, we've always had to find ways to support and respond to staff. You know, sometimes because you can't judge how a member of staff responds to something on the way that you would respond to it. The minute you think in your head, oh, don't be ridiculous, that's just the way it is, why are you in nursing if you can't manage that? You know, there's a real problem there, you know? So I think I'm lucky in the fact that I've had a lot of years being senior, having to deal with these things, to be able to take it to a point now where maybe staff's anxiety is more heightened. If it had come out of the blue and that we were in a position of leaders to not ever have had to have done that, I think that would be really challenging. But nursing has always been a challenge.
I'll tell you what, you can probably hear your goddaughter screaming to come and speak to you. Come and say hello to Tracy. I'll tell you what, it's going to be really interesting to see how people judge leadership, and you love Auntie Tracy. How people view leadership and view. Come and say hello to Auntie Tracy. View leadership. I think you're going to be in MBAs in the future, Trace. Say hello to Auntie Tracy.
Hi!
Trace, on that note, sweetheart, because you can see Em now wants to be in the video.
Just be part of it.
Tracy.
I'm talking to your daddy about nursing.
Thank you, darling. We'll say goodbye to Auntie Tracy.
Woo!
Tracy.